and welcome to our special screening of Birds of Heaven. May I introduce the director? This is Eliane de la Tour, and she did Birds of Heaven. We've also got the stars hiding over there, who you'll get to talk to later. Eliane, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, a few words. I think we can't reduce migration's issue to an economic problem. And I hope with this film you could share a little piece of migrant soul.
The animated opening sequence shows Eliane's ambition to retell the legend of the warrior's epic journey from small village to mighty king. Come. Old friends Shad and Otto are the modern warriors, illegal immigrants from the Ivory Coast. They dream of returning home millionaire heroes, but hustle just enough to survive. Until the police take an interest and end Otto's odyssey.
No puede quedarse aquí.
Il dit sans papier t'es foutu, c'est le bled direct.
Shad flees to London, then moves on to Paris, where he struggles to find legal work.
Ici, on est libre. Je travaille comme je veux. Je suis meilleur. Entrez, hein? Ici, c'est le boulevard. Tu peux pas voler la putain de zone.
Back in the Ivory Coast, Otto's penniless return isn't celebrated for long.
C'est une honte. Tous les voisins mettent leur bouche dedans. Cette aventure, ça n'a rien changé à ta vie. Ça n'a rien changé pour nous. C'est comme zéro.
But in France, Shad's also struggling and turns back to crime to fund his glorious homecoming.
Mon fils, ton Shad. Alors tu vois, autant gagner de l'argent vite dans l'illégalité puisque la légalité est injuste.
Eliane, you searched for almost a year to find these two, didn't you? Tell us about that process. Why was it so difficult?
In Europe, we don't give roles to black actors, so they don't have the experience. So I search everywhere, first in France and in Abidjan too. And I was almost crying. I said, I don't have my lead, but I always found JJ in Paris. So I came on another casting here in London. And I finally found these beautiful actors, so charismatic, and Fraser James.
You didn't speak French. Not a word, did you?
I could probably say bonjour, but no, I didn't speak French.
There was a scene, Eliane tells me, though, that you really didn't know what the actors were saying. Is that right?
I can't believe you did that. There's one scene, just one scene in the whole movie where I didn't understand what he was saying to me. And I was kind of nodding, yeah.
Tu ressembles à ton père, ma petite fille. Avec mon frère, on est parti monter une belle affaire au Maroc.
For me, I think the most shocking scene was when you were being deported. I thought was really difficult.
Yeah, for me it was hard to shoot it because I know people in France who are lived those kind of scenes in the reality. He's full of dreams, and now his dreams are over. So it's very, very strong, very hard.
Fraser, how would you describe your character in the film?
Shad, he's just a guy who wants to come to Europe to find a lining of gold. And what Shad finds is that not only do you get treated badly by people that just don't want you in their country, but you find yourself in a vicious circle, because if you're illegal, it means you can't get papers, which means you're working for people that are really not paying you money of any kind of reasonable amount.
Ça fait 3 mois que je travaille pour rien.
I mean, you're born and bred in London, aren't you? You're a Londoner. So for you, was this life-changing at all to go to a place like the Ivory Coast?
You just realise that in the West, we're so caught up in the rush of life and credit cards and cars and adverts. I suppose the commercial aspects of capitalism, you know, where you don't see that so much when you're in Africa. I can see the clear blue sky every day. You don't realise how much that frees you just in terms of your day-to-day thinking.
I was just wondering about the scene at the end with the kettle when you two are standing by the train.
It is absolutely an incredible scene to shot. All the cars were coming out and not coming out, completely frightened, and say they are coming out now. So start. And they both start and say, no, they're not coming out. No, go, stop. And I was completely lost of what I was doing.
What amazes me about watching it, actually, is that it seems like it was completely natural for these cows to be jumping up, but believe me, it was completely unnatural.
Eliane, JJ, Fraser, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting. Thank you.
Yeah. Someone bled.
Now to the legendary Japanese director Seijun Suzuki, who was once fired by his studio for making films that didn't make any sense or money. Well, it didn't stop him then or now, and at 80-something years old, he's still directing after 50 years. 26 years before Quentin Tarantino directed this, and this, Japan's Seijun Suzuki had already done this, as well as this. Since the 1950s, Suzuki's been the Japanese master of the gangster genre, brilliantly mixing their dark world with dark comedy. I met the 83-year-old working filmmaker in London. Hello. To talk about his 56th film and that legendary career that spanned 5 decades. People are looking at all your work for 50 years and you don't think you're a cult director?
No,
really? The violence in Tokyo Drifter outraged 1960s Japan. But it was the graphic, experimental style of Branded to Kill, now considered a masterpiece, that got him banned from Japan's Nikatsu studio for 10 years. It took him 3 decades to make his return to form, pistol opera. Like most of his films, it induced awe in some and confusion in others. Suzuki's never indulged his critics with an explanation, but he will reveal his inspiration. He admits this focus came from a near-death experience during World War II.
結局その当時青い月とね青い涙かなそのシナ海の風景でねそれを死と覚悟して自分を納得させるんだね風景が。
You make death feel very peaceful. Do you feel peaceful about death?
例えばその病院でね天井を向けて、こうやってベッドの上でね天井を見たままでは死にたくないわけだよ。もっとねこの、桃色の大地の上でね、青い空を眺めながらね死にたいと。それは死に場所なんだよね。そんなことはできないだろうけどさ。
Peaceful as that might sound, Suzuki, like his work, continues to be vibrant and determined. He's just made Princess Raccoon, his first musical. It stars Chinese superstar Zhang Ji as a raccoon who wins the heart of a prince. From gangster to Japanese musical, I have no idea what you want to do next. You couldn't go from one to the extreme to the other anymore.
本質的にはなんとかな監督率から言えばね全然変わってないのね。
It's not unreasonable to suggest this could be the 83-year-old's last film, a film critics have labelled yet another masterpiece. Other people generally decide what his masterpieces are. One is Tokyo Drifter. What does he think his masterpieces are?
次回作
Are you going to make another film?
気持ちだけはね
But now we're going to leave the show where we get the audience to really rate what they thought of you and the film. Yeah,
okay.
They're out there doing vox pops as we speak.
What, right now?
Right now.
Okay, listen. 9 months of my life on this movie. I don't want to twist your arm, but make them good.
How would you rate the film out of 10 and why?
Definitely a 9 out of 10.
I think overall I would give it a 7. The acting was brilliant. The kind of the relationship between them on screen when he came across.
Well, for me it was 10 out of 10.
Fraser's French I was really impressed with.
On the news we always hear about, you know, these immigrants and they're coming into our country and they're stealing our money, and now we saw the other side of it.